All right. Doing a little bit of an impromptu stream this morning in lieu of driving. I figured I needed to talk to you guys a little bit, so that's what we're gonna do. I think we'll wait for a few to get some people on in. And while I'm waiting for people, I'm gonna search for something here. Let's check it out here. Yeah. All right, I found it. Hate commercials. Don't you hate commercials? I do. All right. Let's skip this and let's rewind this a little bit. I'll share this with you guys in just a second here. King Bluto, welcome. McDonald, welcome. Gimmickless, what's up? Nice to have you here. Just thought I'd do kind of an update stream on some of the happenings in and around the Denver metro area. Yeah, they suck. That's what I think about commercials. No hubbub, gimmickless. I just thought I'd get on and do some updates. For people who are interested in the Elijah McClain trial and other happenings here and there and everywhere. And look who we have here. Oh, here we go. Let's try to add. Hey, what's up, K Dot?
Hey.
Give me 1 second. Let's do an intro, K Dot, and then we'll get started. We'll talk about the Elijah McClain happenings and some other shit going on in the Denver metro area. So glad you could be here, K Dot.
Yeah.
McDonald just asked, where's K Dot? He's right here. He's with us. He's with us. All right, welcome everybody to an impromptu stream that I decided to do this morning. I have a great guest, my brother from another. K Dot, what's up, man? How you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Gimmickless says you need your own intro music. I agree. I think K Dot should have his own intro music. I'll work on that this week, Gimmickless, sometime. So let me pull up something here, K Dot, and then we will discuss this. Got to share the screen, here we go. Let's go ahead and listen to this report on what happened in the Elijah McClain trial. This is from Fox 31 in Denver. We'll talk about it after.
Straight to some breaking news. We just learned the verdict in the case of a suspended Aurora police officer charged in the death of Elijah McClain back in 2019. And we have just learned from the courtroom that officer, Nathan Woodyard, has been fully exonerated on all charges. And that includes the charge of reckless manslaughter. Again, this verdict handed down just moments ago in a courtroom.
That's right. And we do want to point out that in this trial, unlike the first trial of two other Aurora officers who were involved in there that night that started the events that led to the death of Elijah McClain, Officer Nathan Woodyard testified in his own defense. This is a trial that has been going on now for about 3 weeks. Nathan Woodyard took to the stand and he explained to the jury that when he put Elijah McClain in a carotid neck hold the night of August 24th of 2019, he expected that he was going to get shot. And he, quote, said, "I thought I would never see my wife again." We were told that Officer Nathan Woodyard testified in his own defense, hoping that this would drop some sympathy from the jury there. Again, this was something that we did not see in that first trial against Officer Randy Verdema and Jason Rosenblatt. And just a reminder, in that case, Jason Rosenblatt was also found not guilty. Randy Verdema found guilty of criminally negligent homicide and third-degree assault.
You do have.
All right. So that's the update. Not guilty, K Dot. Your thoughts, sir? Oh, K-Dot's on mute.
Um. Well, here's the thing. And I know there's been a few people who was wondering what my thoughts were, and I was trying to gather. I was gonna allow me to play my thoughts after all three trials, and that's the reason why I haven't posted or kept anybody updated necessarily on my page. I would say, but because I wanted to have all the facts and everything, just do it all in one swoop. Uh, but my thoughts is it's absolute bullshit. And here's the reason why. Um, and here's the thing, and I hope they do hear this. Uh, Fuck each and every one of those guys who were on the jury. Fuck everybody, and it's not any type of emotion or anything. It's just logistics. Like you have to be either willfully ignorant or intellectually incompetent to not realize those facts, what happened. Uh, um, when it came to that video, the very sole reason why I do what I do is because of Elijah McClain. And when I seen that video for the first time, and I remember where I was at nighttime, and they released it at nighttime, and I've cried so many times to that video because of the nuance of that video, the every single sound that was in that video, my imagination of what played in that video, because some of the video was um messed with because of, I don't know, they so-called dropped the body worn cameras. Um, it was absolutely a travesty. There was no accountability. There was no justice. I think that I will say, at least for the first jury, they appeared that they did not want to be there, and I get it. You know what I'm saying? I get it. Nobody wants to. A lot of people don't want to be a jury. Including myself when I was picked to be on that. It's a long, grueling process. You have to be very attentive. And the reason why I say that is because I think one of the jurors fell asleep and they were kicked off the jury, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and it was the way it was done. There was media coverage, but there wasn't really media coverage. If
Mhm,
if
mhm.
you understand what I'm saying, there was no like, okay, everybody's glued to the television on this, and I just really felt like this was even a setup.
Yeah.
This was
Gimmickless
a
bring
setup like his murder.
yeah,
This
Gimmickless,
was a total setup.
we're gonna get into the weeds here in just a second, Kate, but I want to bring up something that Gimmickless said. He said, "So the government found themselves not guilty. Where's BLM on this one? They got away with murder because it didn't get the same legacy media coverage as George Floyd." Do you agree
Right.
with that, Kate? Because I think I agree with that.
Well,
I
yeah,
think
absolutely. This one right here is particularly was important. The second trial is because uh this this ass nugget um was it he was suspended. You have to understand, he's still employed technically with Aurora Police. He was never fired. He's suspended. So technically, within the clause, he can get his job back. And that means that he can do this shit to somebody else.
did you hear just listen to that report, K dot? He got up on the stand and he said he was afraid he was going to get shot. What, like, from what? From another officer? Because what I
Uh-huh.
remember is Elijah McClain didn't have a weapon on him.
He claimed that he because of the narrative that they coerced. and manipulated as far as Elijah McClain grabbing the gun of one of their fellow officers. So I guess he felt that he had to put him in it. I wanted to make it home to my wife and my children and all this, the same bullshit narrative uh, that a lot of these murderous cops uh, think, And the thing is, uh, we're going backwards. Aurora is definitely going backwards. Mike Kaufman won the mayoral candidates or the mayoral mayoral. I'm saying it wrong.
Mayoral.
Mayoral. My
There
bad.
you go.
Sorry. He's the mayor again. So we have to deal with him another 4 years with this idiot. And he's also trying to plan to create uh for two things. One, his major agenda is going to be trying to create a third term, and that the Aurora mayor has more power.
Well, I think this is. I mean, you're looking at it wrong, K. Dot. I think this is actually good for us because we get to tell him to shove that gavel up his ass some more. So,
Well,
you know,
the reason why I say this is because that could be detrimental because if he gets more power, then that means he'll be in charge of the police uh, to the T. The
yeah.
the chief will answer to him. Whatever decision that he makes politically or executive wise, he has to do. Um, which means he gets to um, have another term of this
Yeah.
if possible. Like Mike didn't even try that hard. I've been to the meetings as far as them. I guess it was a debate. I guess they were asked multiple questions. He didn't even try that hard because he knew he had this in the pocket because he has the Republicans in his pockets. He has the elite corporations in his pockets.
Well, I was just
And
about
if
ready
you
to
have money,
say,
you're going to win.
yeah, he had. I think he. I mean, the last. I mean, this is just speculation,
Uh huh.
K. Dot, but he had like 5 times the money as Juan did.
Oh yeah,
Um,
for sure,
you know, so
for sure.
you know, um,
He didn't even put out any ads. Juan was the only person that put out ads. The other candidate, I don't know what the fuck he was talking about. He was just not. He was just not. I think he tried to uh come as one of the people,
mhm,
but it didn't sell over well. He was definitely not politically savvy.
yeah.
Uh, he was he was. I don't even think he even knew what he was talking about. Um, I think he was just putting a whole group of words together. No
Yeah.
offense to him, but he just didn't know what he was doing. He would have honestly, to tell you the truth, if he would have took that the being a mayor, I think he would have folded.
Yeah.
Um, and I think he ran off of emotions, and you're just not going. It's going to be harder to do it that way.
Claire Wales UK, what's up? Nice to have you in chat. Carol Funk said, I didn't vote for him. Thankfully, Carol, you didn't. You voted correctly, but the majority of the people that voted for that idiot Kaufman. Kaufman is just he's something else. McDonald says what the officer said is he was afraid he'd lose his life. It's a
Hmm.
presumption, like a robber will have. I have to rob the bank to feed my family. Yeah. Caucasian Sasquatch says there is no justice. There's just us.
Right. Hmm.
Right. Ziggis says MLH King Bluto is my favorite YouTuber, and he's in chat. Yes, he's a great YouTuber, Ziggis. I was so sure the jury would come back guilty. I watched every minute, Carol said. Carol, I was the opposite. I mean, K. Dot and I knew. I mean, at least I did. I can't speak for KDOT, but I kind of felt like, uh, that they were going to get off, and they most certainly did.
Mm.
357, welcome, my friend. Nice to have you in chat. Mick T says, "Smell my fingers. I'm not guilty." All right, Mick T.
And
Uh,
the thing
Ellie,
reason
welcome.
why it this is so, and I will say I'm taking this shit incredibly personal, because you have to understand, like, there was 8 of us before the whole George Floyd thing. Me, Candace, Lindsay Mentor, April Young, Darlene, uh, you know, there was 8 of us who was literally advocating shut the whole city council down, to where that, you know, it was about to get really real. Like, uh police came in there with multiple guns and all those type of things. We're talking about, we were being followed, we were being harassed, we were, lives were being, um my life was played with, as far as death threats and advocating for this. You have to understand, there were cold nights that I was out there and with the, doing this, and just it. So it's incredibly, it's it's it hurts, because it was a major loss. It was just like, and I don't feel like we didn't do it for anything. We did. We worked really fucking hard to make
Yeah.
sure that he was even given a trial. You know what I'm saying? Um, uh, you know, me DJing for his mother for Christmas, to raise money and funds for her children, because they didn't have any money for any type of Christmas. You know what I'm saying? We raised, I believe, a little bit over $2,000, and uh, some of the activists who were injured, I knew personally, um, who are, some of them are disfigured because of the shit that they went through, and abuse that the police uh, um, gave them. You know, one of them is uh, at a methadone clinic. You know, because of what happened. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of activists who were really put their bodies on the line for this individual, this wonderful individual, Elijah McClain, and for the city. Uh, Heartbreaking stories, to where at the violin vigil, there was a 9-year old, when they ambushed the whole vigil, as far as the police. um, there was a 9-year old who pissed on herself.
Mm.
You have to hear those stories. You have to hear just sadness, and I get phone calls 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I have to answer those, because those are my community, and
Yeah.
they're asking for answers, and it sucks. This shit sucks. It does not feel good.
Yeah.
Um, but I also have to understand that this is part of the process. There are going to be battles that we're not going to win all the time. But we still have to keep fighting through being beat up, uh, physically, figuratively, uh,
Yeah.
and it, like I said, I'm not. Me and him, like, we're more than just the YouTube guys. We actually do a lot of work that's not even documented, because we got to get shit done,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Well, I
this is
I tell
bullshit.
people this.
I'm not okay with the verdict. Like I said, the jury was, um I don't know. I don't know what the fuck the jury was on. And no, and and people can say, I'm gonna just be real with the people. They're gonna be politically, correct on this, as far as, oh well, we have to respect the jury's decision. I don't have to respect shit. That's why I live in America, because if I feel a certain, or if I think a certain way, and I don't think the jury was selected right, I don't think the jury really paid attention to the case really like that, I'm gonna call on it. And because me and MLH were physically there,
Mm,
you know,
mm.
and in a lot of this, and no, fuck the jury, fuck both
Yeah.
of the damn juries.
Yeah. Let's get to something here. Ellie says, I told you the longer the jury takes, the better chance of getting off. And that's true. Razor said they paid the jurors, no joke, they get money for being there, but I bet they paid him thousands to find not guilty. I don't know about that, Razor, but it brings up a good point. And K Dot, you brought this up too. Um, I've always felt for years like the way that we pick juries is weird, and it's jarring, and it shouldn't be that way. I've been saying this, and there's not a lot of people that agree with me, Kate, and I'm wondering what you think. What do you think about professional jurors? We have professional lawyers, we have
Uh
professional
huh.
judges, we have
Yeah.
professional in any walk of life we have a profession, right?
Hmm.
I I mean, why don't we have professional jurors? And do you think that would make things a little bit more fair?
Um, would it make things more fair? I don't know. That's a lot of to divulge there, as far as if professional jurors, um, because you still have people's lives in your hand, and I don't think anybody would want to sign up for that. You know what I'm saying? You have people's lives in your hand. You make the ultimate conviction. So and then after the conviction's done, the judge does the sentencing. So no, I don't believe there should be that, because it's incredibly stressful.
Well,
Um,
the reason that I bring this up, K Dot, is because I think the juries, for the most part, get things wrong in
mhm,
almost every case. I mean, I think it's like at least 75-25. What should
mhm,
have happened, right? Like either a
yeah,
guilty or a not guilty verdict. Time and time again, especially when it comes to people of color or poor people, right? I mean,
yeah,
you get those people in that situation, and it almost never works out for them. But you get somebody that's a little bit richer, you know, a
mhm,
high society person, it almost always works for them. So
yeah.
something's got to change there.
Yeah,
Like, like
but I don't. But a professional jury, I don't think would ever work, because there's different cases, case by case situations. How are you going to employ this? Is it going to be the same jurors from? You know what I'm saying? It's going to be incredibly. That's not a easy thing to accomplish. I mean, we already have a low employment rate with our police department. So to find jurors, no, and it's the thing that most people don't even want to be a part of anyway. No, I think absolutely
well,
not. I
this,
don't. I don't. I
this
don't think the professional juror thing is just no. I think you
no,
should
I'm not
have.
saying that this is the answer, K Dot, because I don't have all the answers. I'm just saying
Yeah.
what we got going on now is not working. It simply is not working. I
Right.
mean, Ellie, I think long time ago put it very succinctly, like jury of your peers. But when we were in the first Elijah McClain trial, K
Uh
Dot,
huh. Yeah.
uh, I didn't see one peer of Elijah
No.
McClain. I
No.
saw a bunch of older white men and women. I saw one Asian dude that was super disinterested in being there the
Yeah.
entire time. So how is it a jury of your peers? You see what I'm saying? Like
No.
it make
I see what you're saying. I mean, it was mainly all white people for the most part, and maybe I don't know a couple of Hispanic people. But no, I mean it's the same thing as, okay, well then you might as well have professional voters. Um, and in a way, federally we kind of do the electoral college. You know what I'm saying? It's not the presidency. The executive branch is not voted on as far as the most votes they got. No, it's
Right.
depending on the electoral college, and I think
Yeah.
that's fucked up, and that's I think, and not only that, and we won't even go into
I
this, but
can't stand the electoral college, but that's a whole
yeah,
other
that's a
animal,
whole
man.
thing. That's a whole no. No, if I cast my vote to to vote for a president, um, my vote should count, and that's what I'm saying. It's all bullshit. My vote fucking doesn't count. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? So
Right.
no,
Ellie,
it's the same thing. It'll be a electoral college type situation. We have these people who are going to be the juror for these cases and stuff like that, and it's just no, and they would have to look out for outside sources anyway. Like, I mean, if you really think about it, look, we're, pol- they're wanting to have volunteer police department. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So they would go outside the source anyway and have volunteer jury thing. So it'll never work, and it's literally electoral college situation. Like I said,
All
you
right. Ellie, you're up on the panel. You wanted to say.
I did. I wanted to say they did have a jury of their peers. You guys keep thinking it's a jury of peers for Elijah McClain, but that's not the case. He was not on trial. So for the first time, they actually did have that, which I find odd that they had a jury of their peers, but it's not for the deceased. He's not the one on trial.
Well,
So,
you could have fooled me, Ellie. I mean, the trial that I went to. I mean, you really could have fooled me. I mean, it was all about what a bad dude Elijah McClain was, and how he was reaching for a gun, which nobody ever provided any proof of that at all through any of the body cams.
well, they're not saying that he was. They're saying they believed he was, which is a difference. So the defense was doing what they do, but again, you have to understand that the prosecution really work hard. And I told you from the things that I had heard, the prosecution wasn't working hard because they felt that for Aurora, they absolutely needed to charge them, but they didn't really want them convicted. If they wanted them convicted, I assure you, they absolutely would have been. And the jury would not have been who the jury was. But, you can't say one thing and then, want another. If you want a jury of your peers, that's exactly what they got. They got a jury of their peers. Was it rigged? Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because other people don't get that. But
Yeah.
in this case, you can't play one side and then not the other. Remember, I'm always the juror. So it's just a matter of being impartial. Do I think that they should have got off? Absolutely not. Unfortunately, they did. It is what it is.
Yeah, but how many is what it is, Ellie, before the levee breaks? I guess is what I'm asking. Like, because I over and over. How many times have you seen, Ellie? You would be a perfect person to ask this. How many times have you seen a jury or a trial? I mean, where the verdict was definitely one-sided, right? I.e., the O.J. Simpson case, that, for instance,
Mhm.
right, where the evidence is just overwhelming. Everybody knows based on the evidence, right, and it doesn't go the way that it should have over and over, but mostly with wealthier people, right, Ellie? So
Well, but you could say the same thing for the Casey Anthony. Everybody knows that woman was guilty. How that jury remotely came back, but then you have to also understand this, and this is the only thing that I can hope for, even though I know it's not probable, is that the juries are not privy to everything that we are. There
Mhm.
are so many times that they're called out. They don't get to see the evidence. They don't get to watch the trials. They don't get to see the sidebars like we do. Now in OJ's case, those people were paid. I mean, let's be honest. They had a party afterwards at his house for the jury people and a guest. So, I mean, absolutely, jurors can be bought, but he
Mhm.
did lose in the civil case.
Right.
So, there's not one side of this. It's that old adage, it's not what you know but who you know. That's what it
Here's the
comes
thing.
down to.
Here's the thing. This idiot that just ran for governor, and I'm glad he lost. Um, the attorney general that had his involvings with the Breonna uh, case, where he manipulated. He called for a grand jury, but he manipulated it to where that they didn't have the charge didn't even really uh he coerced the charges to where that they had to say not we can't bring this car because of the different charges. He played the situation. Hold on, guys.
Yeah.
All right, you go ahead, Ellie.
No. Gimmickless says money's a big player in most things that happen, and I agree. But see, therein lies the rub. This is why I brought up the professional juror thing, just because I don't think that's the solution at all. But I think what we got going on now is not going to work. It just doesn't work. I mean, time and time again, you see, um, these verdicts that are absolutely asinine. I
Well,
just saw,
here's what I do think. I do think that jury pools should not be selected from the county in which it occurred. So if you live in one county, you should not be a jury, because your chances of knowing somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody that is part of that case
it's pretty great.
absolutely is going to prejudice the jury against it. So you should not know the people involved, any of the players. If this case was not held where it was and it was held someplace else, I believe they would have gotten a different verdict.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
you're saying that these cops who patrol the area and everybody knows, and then you have to worry, are they friends with other cops? And then what's going to happen to them if they go against the police? It makes no sense for their own safety. They're thinking, well, you know what? I mean, to me, that would come across my mind. It's a smaller area. I got to worry what's going to happen with the other cops if I convict their buddies. They know exactly where I live.
Well, I think that's a great point, Ellie, and that's part of the solution too. But I think another part of the solution lies within the cops, right? We've got too many people, and I hate to use this term, and I use it loosely, bootlickers, right? We talk about bootlickers all the time, but I think it is a real thing. I think it's a derangement syndrome, right? Where a lot of people just hold police in too high of a regard without knowing
But
what I
that
see.
starts from when the children are young. They're
Right,
bred to say, if you need help, go to the police, find a nice policeman.
right,
Policeman will help you. Call 911. I mean, every one
right.
of us were raised to do that.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like, there has to be a change in the modality here. There has to be a change in the way people think, and you're talking about tradition, and I totally agree with that, Ellie. Like, I think from the time that kids are kids, they're taught that police are their heroes. Police are the ones that are they're the knights in shining armor. They're You're right, gimmickless indoctrination. That's a perfect word. We're all indoctrinated to
Well,
think
and
that
it's
the cops are
reinforced.
bad.
I mean, parents do it because that's the way they were raised. And then the school does it.
Yeah,
They bring in the nice policeman and the nice fireman. And then they say, well, what do you want to be? Well, I want to be a cop too. I want to be a cop. The Halloween costumes that go out being cops for when they're children. It's bred in them that you can't help it. I mean, I was raised to be a bootlicker.
yeah, yeah. And I think that's a shame that the majority of people can't see exactly what's going on. These are that saying, back the blue until it's you, is totally true. Like, I had the same kind of worldview when I was growing up until I had a gun pulled on me because a cop thought I was smoking weed. And I'm like, that's so un-American. That's like the worst thing that you could do to a person is threaten to end their life over something so benign as smoking weed. and it didn't turn out that me and my friend were smoking weed. My friend was smoking a cigarette, but you can see the trauma there, right? And McDonald says they're master manipulators. They use deception on the public. It's a heavy evil deception that there's a hand behind it. Bluto says that's why they have a change
I
of
was going to
venue.
say, highlight that comment for a second. King's comment.
Yeah.
That he writes, that's why they have a change of venue, that they should use it to get out of the county where the crime was committed. But here's the thing. The change of venue is used for the defense. It's not used for the prosecution. So the prosecution, again, proves my case that they did not want to win this case. And the defense knew their best chance was to have the people that they patrolled and they controlled during that time, and their friends still control. There was no way they were asking for a change of venue.
Right. Carol, this is a good point Carol makes here. I speak about that all the time. I lived in my white suburban bubble, and I told my children that too. Yeah, see, that's the thing. What is there to combat that? Tradition is a hard thing to break. I mean, you look at, I hate to use.
It's the same thing with religion. Most people are the religion they are because of the way they were raised. You believe and you want to believe in what your parents said and what your parents did, that you carry those traditions. It's when you can break that, and usually it's when it's too late and you're an adult and your children are already adults,
Right.
that you start doing that critical thinking yourself where, you know what, something's not adding up here. This doesn't make sense. And when you start hearing stories like on a platform like YouTube, where people are showing the evidence that, you know what, this isn't just a coincidence or a one-time thing. It's happening over and over and over again. And it's things like this that need to happen and need to be discussed to show that, people, it's not, we didn't make any mistakes in what I'm saying, Carol. It is, you can't fault yourself for doing it. I did at a point, but I realized that I just truly wanted to believe. It came later in life to where I used my own critical thinking device to say, you know what, this isn't right. And now I go back to my children and I have these conversations with them to say, you know what, listen, I wasn't right about this. And we discuss these things because it's important to go back to your children and say, as a parent, I did it because I was trained to do it like this, but I was actually wrong. And, I want you to think for yourself so you can break that chain of cycle, with your grandchildren or great grandchildren, so it doesn't continue to happen. That's where the change is going to happen. It's going to happen within ourselves.
Yeah.
We're responsible for that change.
This is a great comment by Gimmickless. He says, I think it also comes down to what people personally experience as well. As a white guy in poor neighborhoods, I did not have privileges with cops. I did not have privileges with cops. Well, see, Gimmickless, this is what I try to say all the time. Two things can be true at the same time, right?
Correct.
Black and brown people can be oppressed, right? That is a thing. But poor people can also be oppressed, right? Poor white people can be oppressed. So two things can be true. This is the hardest concept for people to understand. Like, there can be two truths in what people are saying. Like, two things can be true, or two things can be false, or one false and one. You see what I'm saying? Like, there can be truth to what two people are saying. It doesn't have to be completely one-sided.
And I see that all the time, even on YouTube in the drama community.
Right.
One person says one thing about somebody else and the other person saying, no, it's this. But you know what? Both can be true. It's just that they don't see that. Everybody wants to see something as a black and white, right or wrong. They don't allow for a gray area. And there is a gray area, and that gray area is the smallest section. So you have your black area, your white area, and then in the middle you have your gray, which is much smaller. And that's the critical thinking. And what we need to do is to make the gray area to be larger, so people can honestly sit there and look at things.
You know what? This is a good point, Ellie. I'm not going to bring up who I'm thinking of, but you, Ellie, you are going to know who I'm thinking of. But somebody in the YouTube community was making a lot of sense when it came to Israel and Hamas and that whole thing with Palestine and the Gaza area. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
So and this person normally is irrational, right? And yeah, I'm not gonna put any names because I don't like the drama stuff. I tend to stay away from that. But this person was making a lot of sense. You know what I mean? But two things can be true at the same time. You could say, um, I can't stand Israel for what they're doing, and I can't stand Hamas for what they're doing. Those two things can be true, right, Ellie? I mean,
Correct.
you don't have to
Correct.
take one side or another. You can hate what both sides are doing, right?
Which is the stand I take. What Hamas did is undefensible. I understand. I can have an understanding of why they did it, but you can't defend it. But what I also said is what Israel is doing is unforgivable.
Right. Right.
So
Because
both are true at the same time.
right.
I
Absolutely.
don't think other governments should be getting involved in supporting this. It's ridiculous. But I don't believe in war either. I'm not going to fight somebody else's battle and give my life up for that because you have a disagreement with your government. So the guy in power that says, okay, that's it, I'm sending my minions out to fight my battle for me. When do you see that person going out and fighting in battle?
There's
If the
there's
president of Israel believed in what he said, then you get on the ground force. You fight for it. You put your life on the line. You put your kids in that military line to get shot. I'm not doing that.
Yeah. There's a great song by System of a Down. I think it's called BYOB, Bring Your Own Bomb. And one of the lyrics is, why do they always send the poor? Why don't presidents fight the war? Why do they always send the poor? So that's exactly what you're saying, Ellie.
Yeah,
Like,
the poor can't buy their way out of that draft.
right, right. I mean, it just is what it is. Bluto says, I'm not a boot. We know you're not a bootlicker, Bluto. He says, I didn't realize that change of venue is just for the defense.
Yeah,
Uh,
because then otherwise the prosecution would be in the different venue, not there. The prosecution always wants the venue to be where they are. They don't want to have to travel and be inconvenienced, God forbid.
I know. How dare you get a paid vacation, basically, Gimmickless says America first. How about world first, man? Like
Exactly. World first. I am not into this imaginary line crap.
yeah, I
When
think
God gave this world, and I believe in God, when God gave this world or whatever your higher power is, he didn't say, okay, you can only travel up until this point. Who decides that you need papers at this point? If I want to travel, I should be free to travel. There should
I,
not be this imaginary line crap.
I agree, but I also agree that we should be taking
But I
care of
agree
our
with
own
the
shit.
but I agree with the money part of it.
Yeah,
Listen, if we have all these people that are starving here and that are homeless here and have drug addictions here, which was created by our government,
yep,
okay,
absolutely. Great point.
why don't we help them first? If you have $200 million to be sending over to Gaza and to Israel, then you sure as hell have $200 million to help your American citizens. Stop that crap.
You're assuming that other countries don't have morals and standards, Gimmickless.
Right.
He says we have borders so that we keep our morals and laws upheld to
See,
us.
and I disagree with that part 100%. Here's the thing. I think that your government, and it's part of what you have to let go. The government, and I don't mean yours specifically, you, Gimmickless. I apologize. I'm not trying to call you out, so please don't take this the wrong way. I think all government, so let me rephrase it. All government, regardless of what country you're in, inbreds in their citizens that other countries are the enemies. Do you think for 1 minute that the people in Korea or China or Russia want this stuff? Or do you think that they fear their government just as much as we do in the US, that they have too much power and they don't know how to take it back? I think that's more realistic of what it is. I don't hate anybody in Gaza or hate anybody in Israel as far as their citizens go, or in Russia or in China, because they have no more control than what I have. I mean, somebody told me that I could, and again, I'm not going to say who, that I could resolve all of this happening to the people in Gaza if I just stop paying my taxes. Well, I'm sorry if I missed that phone call from the White House where Biden called me up and said, hey, Ellie, is it all right if we do this?
Right.
Because they don't ask me. I have zero control on my taxes. zero control. You have to decide what you're going to die on the sword for, and there are certain things that I would die on the sword for, but I'm not going to die on the sword for somebody else's beef over property land.
Right.
Listen, and then you have to take it to a vote, and you have to go back and see what history is. I can't do all of that.
Yeah.
That's not what I do.
That brings up another great point. What do you think about, like, I thought about this too, Ellie, and I this is not an answer to this. Maybe it's just, pie in the sky shit, but I mean, people really hate paying taxes, right? Especially at the rates that we're getting, right? The government keeps taking more and more. Why not have like a national lottery for tax reasons, like to replace taxes? I mean, you could make it like some ungodly number, like the minimum that you would win is $1 billion or some shit, and you can either participate or not participate in it, just like our current lottery system. But this would take the place of taxes. What do you think about that, Ellie?
I'm not understanding it. Say it again.
So we get rid of, state lottery, or, well, you have different lotteries, right? You have local lotteries, you have state lotteries, and you have a national lottery, and that replaces our taxes. And you can either participate in it, i.e., you buy a ticket, for a chance to win $1 billion or however much money is thought of, and it
Well,
raises.
no, not necessarily, because then there are people who don't buy into it. They get to keep their money, but then they get to still benefit from everything that taxes are.
Well,
So I don't necessarily agree with that. But then look at the lottery. The lottery is run by government. Let's be honest. All of it is. And not only is it run by government, but they keep 60% of it.
Yeah,
They keep 60% of what you get. So, to me, the lottery is fake. They advertise it everywhere. Oh, look, it's up to $1 billion. But then what are you going to get? You might get 200 million, 300 million. And then they keep all the rest. It's phenomenally fake, but they want to get you as poor into it as it is. It's just like the casinos. The house always wins.
Yeah, but see, that's what I'm saying. If you don't want to participate in it, you don't have to go out and buy a ticket, right? So that's a way of like saying, and there's plenty of people that are gonna buy into that, and for a chance to win $1 billion or 10 million or whatever the amounts are, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, this would be a way of keeping the government out of our fucking lives, pretty much. Like,
How
because
about you have, if you are a government employee, you cannot make more than what the medium in your area is. How about that? So
that's
if your
a good idea.
medium is $50,000, then you can't make $400,000. You're not allowed to. You can only make that. Then I bet you people who really want to make change are going to make that.
You know what? I agree with that, Ellie, and I also think that should go for any government agency,
Any
including
government.
police
I mean, if you're in the Supreme, if you're not in the Supreme, but if you're in the Senate, you make $250,000 a year. If you're in Congress, I believe it's about $150,000 a year. If you're in the Supreme Court, it's over $500,000 a year. Which again, let me make this clear: I do not support or agree with the Supreme Court in any way at all. Why 9 people should have a final say that were appointed and anointed instead of elected and are supposed to be protected, for the people, is beyond me. So I don't know who came up with that idea, but that was the dumbest idea I've ever heard in my life, that 9 people get to hold their job for life.
How about this?
No matter what you do. That's asinine.
I got one better, Ellie. I'm not even going to go with the median. I'm going to go with the federal minimum wage. That's what you make. If the federal wage, which right now the federal minimum wage is $7.25, that's what you should make.
Well, that depends. That depends, I think, on where you live, which again is asinine. Who gets to appoint that? Because I know in Pennsylvania the minimum wage is $7.25. Ridiculous that you think you can live on that, and it's been like that forever.
That's what I'm
but
saying.
To me, I don't want my government officials or judges or anybody else. If you're working for the government, you should not make more than what your average person would make in that area. Take all that extra money and help build up the other people to where we all have that equality.
Yeah. Bluto says, I got a question on that. How much are you putting in to buy this lottery ticket to win this $1 billion? What I'm saying, Bluto, I'm not saying $1 billion is what it is, but you have let's say the national lottery, right? And that's the biggest one of them all. I mean, there has to be like a minimum. Let's say it's $250 million to start, right? That's the bare minimum. And then you have like a state lottery system, which the bare minimum is, I don't know, $10 million, and then you have local
Right.
every
Which don't forget that goes for your little scratch offs, your little daily numbers, or
right,
your pick four,
right,
your pick
right,
sixes.
right,
Yep.
all of that. That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's a way that we can not have to pay taxes, right? Like if you don't want to, like no sales tax, no federal tax, just lotteries everywhere. And
Well,
if you
now that brings together a good point. How are there some states that can afford to have no sales tax, but then others who can't?
Yeah, I agree. How is that? How is it that well, I know how they do it in Florida. Florida has no sales tax, which is the reason why
Delaware has no sales tax.
well, Florida is very attractive for football players. They love to play in Florida because there's no sales tax there, right? So you don't have to pay this exorbitant amount of money on sales tax, so you get all that money. But what they do have there is outrageous property taxes. So that's where they make up a lot of their money in Florida is property taxes. Um, we already put it. I agree, Gimmickles. That's why I'm saying let's get rid of federal taxes, get rid of state taxes, get rid of local taxes, and just have these lotteries. And you can either
Well, I
participate.
don't know if getting rid of is the answer, but I think it is too high for what it is.
What,
And I don't
what
think it's
exactly?
proportioned. I don't
What
think
is?
it's proportioned.
I agree, 100%. But it's just not working. What do we get for our money? Is what I'm saying. We pay
Well, you
exorbitant.
don't. You
We
don't. I mean,
don't.
I know. I can tell you, each state does with their like instant lotteries and everything else. They do something different. So I don't know where King Pluto lives, but he says that the proceeds are supposed to, and he says loosely, are supposed to be used for education. Now in Pennsylvania, that's not the case. In Pennsylvania, it's supposed to go for roads and senior citizens.
Yeah,
But does it?
for
No.
Colorado, it goes to parks and recreation, right? Like we're big on like the outdoors here, because Colorado's a beautiful state, right? The mountains are beautiful, et cetera, et cetera. And it does. I've seen a lot of parks with those signs paid for by the Colorado Lottery. So, in that respect, it does. There is some benefit there. So that's what I'm saying. Like nationally, we could fucking build every goddamn road we wanted to if we did a lottery like that. Can you imagine? I mean, it's crazy. It's fucking crazy the amount of money that could be generated for shit like
And
that.
when the government agrees to, and this is just a small example, but to pay, for example, $400 for a toilet seat, are you ridiculous?
Yeah, see,
Does that make any sense that you would pay $400 for not even the whole toilet, just the seat? Let's be ridiculous when you're sitting there putting out those meals for these soldiers and you're paying these astronomical amounts of money. And if you think the police is anything different than the military, you're kidding yourself. The police is just localized military.
yeah. Well, it's becoming more and more that way, Ellie. Right? I mean, with the
Well, it was
guards.
always set up to be that way.
Yeah. There's what was I gonna say?
I mean, they get special benefits when they go and purchase things. You ever see that? You get discounts if you're first responder, firefighter, paramedic, police officer, all special benefits where you pay less for the same product that I have to pay for. How is
Right.
that beneficial when I pay for your income to begin with?
Right. Right.
And now you're going to get a discount on shit? Come on.
Yeah. McDonald says, in my travels, I learned that in Mexico, they cannot fine you for more than what you make in a day's worth of work. See, that's another thing. We're not only penalized with the amount of taxes we pay, but let's say we get a ticket. I got a ticket and this was like 5 years ago, right? The last ticket that I received for not stopping at a stop sign, which was bullshit. I know I stopped at that stop sign. And you know how much that cost me? $172 fucking dollars, and I had to beg for that amount. It was actually more, and I had to beg to get that amount lowered. And I'm like, what the fuck? For a non for a victimless crime. I didn't hurt anybody. I didn't get into an accident. I I got charged $172 because I, according to the police officer, failed to stop at a stop sign. Are you fucking kidding me? Oh man. Oh wow, Carol, that's good news. That's really good
That's
news.
awesome, Carol. Congratulations. That's
Great
awesome.
news. That's great news, Carol.
Praying everything goes well for you. But see, they make stuff up. They are money generators. And I know I shared this story with you, but I don't know how many people know this. I was driving out of state, and this was years ago, and I was pulled over and I was given a ticket for texting while driving. It was first offense is a $400 fine, but
Yikes.
it is also mandatory court appearance for this.
Ugh.
Now, this state happened to make the process extremely long, and I was absolutely 100% innocent. 100%. Because of my job, I was required to sign a contract that I would also be hands-free. So I purchased a car that actually had Wi-Fi in it, so I could be hands-free. I also had an iPhone, so I had Siri. So anybody who has an iPhone knows that you can say, "Hey Siri," and she says, "How can I help you?" And you say, "Send a text. Who would you like to text?" So there would be no reason in the world for me to want to drive by texting. So, of course, I fought this ticket because I knew. And I even tried to show the officer, but he didn't want to see it. So I went to court. But to make this long story short, I'm going to tell you how set up this was. At first, I did not see. They wanted to see if I wanted to make a deal. And I said, absolutely not. And I said, and I don't even see the officer here. And the district attorney said that, oh, no, he's here. And I was like, I didn't see him. And he's like, yeah, he's up in front. Here, the officer was also the judge's bailiff, court bailiff.
Oh, you got to
Find that a little odd, right?
That is
Now, I was not the only one that was there for that officer for that charge. There were many of us. Okay. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is ridiculous. Now, unfortunately, they held me last. I don't know why. I guess because I was making more comments and shit in the gallery for everybody else's. Like, no, that's not right. So, they held me for last. Long story short, I won my case because I printed out what the case law was and everything else. I showed what my car had because the judge is like, well, you'd have to have Wi-Fi. I said, my car does. Would you like me to show you? It's right outside in the parking lot. But the first question I asked the judge, the very first question when I was called up was, Your Honor, please don't take offense to this, but I want to know how impartial can you truly be when the officer is also your court bailiff? And he said, oh, I can absolutely be impartial. And I said, okay, well, just so you know, if this doesn't go in my favor, I will be filing an appeal.
absolutely
Because there's no way you can tell me that somebody who works for you day in and day out, 5 days a week, that you're not going to take his word for it, let alone that we're 4 lanes apart. I'm in an SUV. He's in a car. I'm driving 55 miles an hour. It's during lunch hour, rush hour traffic. And you can see what I'm doing in my car. Are you kidding me? That makes absolutely no sense at all.
Right.
So I was the only one who won, but I was the only one who also called him on it. That you got to be kidding me if you think you're going to tell me that you're going to be impartial to your own bailiff. That makes absolutely no sense. But how many people just took a plea deal because they wanted to get the fine down lower or to make some kind of agreement? I wasn't doing it. I wasn't doing it because I knew that I was right. Hey, Gregory, how are you this morning?
Gregory, nice to have you in here. We're having a nice, lovely discussion about various things like the Elijah McClain case, how it came back not guilty in the case of the guy that basically choked out Elijah McClain. We're also talking about jury polls, juries in general, just a variety of topics today. So if you guys have anything in the comments you want to talk about, make sure you ask us, and I'm sure Ellie and I will be more than happy to add to the discussion here.
And McDonald makes a great point. Yeah, he says never make deals. And why? Because you make deals with the devil. Here's the other thing. When they ask you to make a deal, it just shows you 95% of the time how weak their case really is.
Yeah.
And they don't want to do the work.
And depending on the deal, I've heard people like offer like you have to do like 10 hours of community service, and you know you don't even have to pay a
But
fine.
see, I'm only going to make a deal if I'm guilty. If
Right.
I'm innocent, I'm not making a deal. Why would I say I'm guilty to something else when if I didn't do what you're charging me with, I'm sure as hell not going to say I did something that you're not charging me
Right,
with.
right. I'll give you a good example. The example I just talked about, right, where I was not guilty of, and I'll tell you why I was not guilty. I was turning right. I was in a parking lot, right, a parking lot to a grocery store, and the cop said he saw me not stop at the stop sign and barrel out into traffic. Well, at that time, I had a Dodge Ram, right, and those things you can't exactly like the turn radius on a Dodge Ram is not like a car, right? You can't turn into the first lane. It's next near to impossible to do that. You have to get out into the second lane or even the third lane, depending on what's going on. So that's what I did. And besides the fact there was somebody in front of me that was already stopped at the stop sign, so how did I not stop, right? But here I am, not knowing kind of that I could get this resolved, like going to court, and I didn't want the inconvenience, but the inconvenience cost me $172, and I had to say that I was wrong, and I did do that when in fact I didn't do that. It's that, like you said, Gimmickless says that's how they get a lot of people. Is by plea deals. Yeah, the judge will often drop the price of the fine if you just plead guilty or no contest.
Which shows you that it's all about the money and
It
it's all
is
about
about
the
that.
revenue and not wanting to put on. If you really think somebody's guilty, you're going to be like, oh no, this is going to trial. That's it. We're taking this all the way. No, because it's about the money. That's why you want it. And where does all that money go? I mean, if you look at a traffic ticket and you see, like you said, it was $175. If you see what the original fine was, you're going to most likely find that that fine was probably 25 or $50. And then everything else became some other fee that they added on to it to come to that total, which is ridiculous. And where does that money go? Nobody has to report it. Nobody knows. Your FOIA requests are denied. I don't know. I don't know what this cat fund is or where it goes or who benefits from it. But they have it on that ticket. So it'll start out at 25 and then it'll say cat fund $75 and then it'll say state fee, 62.50. And they make up this ridiculous thing. So the next thing you know, you're up to $175.
Yeah,
But the original fine was only $25.
yeah.
But that wasn't enough for them.
Right. It's not enough. So what do you think about that, Ellie? What do you think about fines and stuff of that nature? Like, do you think that um Cajun Randy, welcome Cajun Randy, he says
Hey, Cajun
only,
Randy. Good to see you, honey.
only the shadow knows, you want to know what they use against you, your own fear. That's exactly right, McDonald.
Yep.
What do you think about photo radar tickets, Ellie?
I think they're ridiculous.
I agree.
I think they're
Why?
ridiculous.
Why?
Who's paying for that? The state is monitoring that, so you're monitoring by video. And then how do I know exactly where that comes up? How often is that checked? Who is that company being paid for? The quote private entity of the government, I assume, because you don't have the right to put that on private or on public property just because you want to. So every one of those cameras is owned by the government, and you want to monitor me like I'm some kind of child. No, listen, if I blow a stop sign or, I think that yellow means go or hurry up and speed up or whatever, and it happens to turn red. Well, you got to be able to catch me to see that. You can't say, well, you're guilty because the camera saw the picture. How do I know your camera timing is on? But you have no defense for that. You're just supposed to pay it. So no, I don't agree with any of that stuff.
So do you really have to pay it, Ellie? Because I heard from another very
Well,
prominent
that depends
channel.
on where you are, but I can tell you in Pennsylvania, they will suspend your driver's license for it
Mm,
if you
okay.
don't pay it. So, listen, I'm not an attorney, I'm not going to, sit there and give anybody legal advice on what they should or should not do. I'm only going to give you what my opinion is, and my opinion is if you know that you are innocent, then you fight it. If you know that you're guilty, then maybe you want to take a plea bargain for it. But I think that the majority of people who do take the plea aren't necessarily guilty, but they look at what the crime is, they look at what they're charged, and they sit there and say, okay, so you dropped the fine from $200 to $100. Is it worth me having to take off another day? Can I afford with my job to take off another day versus just pay for it and get it done and over with? And that's what the majority of people do. Or the famous line of okay, we'll just give you the ticket for, doing 5 miles over the speed limit and it won't affect your insurance. I'm here to tell you that that is a 100% lie. When a cop tells you that deal that it won't show up on your insurance, because if your insurance needs to run your driving record for any reason, and this is my insurance background, they will absolutely fine that ticket. Absolutely. So you're just taking a gamble,
Well,
on
cops
whether
are,
they find it or not.
according to the Supreme Court, Ellie, cops are allowed to lie. So don't trust anything coming out of a cop's mouth.
Exactly, they are.
So I mean, if the Supreme that was such
Gimmick list. The answer to that question is, and I'm going to speak for my area.
it depends.
No,
It depends.
no, I did not have a choice to vote for photo enforcement. That was not on my ballot at any point in time. It was just something that they did here.
Yeah. It depends on which locality. Some people did vote it in, but like in the case of Aurora, Colorado, the people didn't vote for it and they quickly complained and got most of those things out. I think there's only one left. So it depends. Matthew says, accountant here, I support a fully proportional flat tax. There's an idea with some progressive exemptions and no maximum cap, no loopholes, offshoring profits for corporations.
Hey, Matthew.
I agree, Matthew. Welcome on in, Matthew. Nice to have you here as well. I agree. Shut down the loopholes. But it's funny, Matthew, anytime that somebody mentions that, right? Somebody mentions that we're going to close the loopholes. What happens? They get censored or censured. Or
when they say close the loopholes, they truly mean close the loopholes for citizens to find anything out.
Right.
We're going to make it harder for you.
Right. King Bluto says, I don't ever remember voting on that in California, but we got the red light cameras everywhere. See?
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. It just depends on where some people did vote it in, which is absolutely asinine. Why would you ever give?
Yeah, but the question is, did you ever see that on a ballot?
No.
Was that in Colorado? Because I didn't vote for it.
No.
So I don't know who voted and where this mysterious election was, but it sure as hell wasn't on election day. So there must have been a special election because I've never seen that on my ballot ever.
What do you think about people? Because here in Colorado, the law is you don't have to accept the ticket as is. You can have a police officer present you with that ticket. So what do you say to everybody just like doing that instead? Like, don't you think?
Well, I don't understand that. What does that mean? So instead of getting the ticket in the mail, cop will drive to your house and give you the ticket? That's still ridiculous. He wasn't there at the time. Unless he witnessed it, then he cannot enforce a ticket.
Right.
That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, but you think if enough people did that they would just find it to be not profitable enough? Like, in other words, we have to pay these cops to go and give you the ticket, and you may or may not be home. So, I mean, you don't have to answer your door, right? So, I mean, if they
but
don't,
I'm not paying, a police officer 6 figures a year to go around and hand deliver pieces of paper.
That's what I'm saying, though.
I won't even want you coming knocking on my door.
I agree, but that's what I'm saying. If enough people do that, then I don't think it would be profitable enough for them to for it to be even a viable thing. These stupid.
Well, but I don't want them stalking me either.
Well, that's true too. I mean, you'd have to have a little bit of resolve, I asked that because I have no idea how it was agreed upon to put them up. Yeah, gimmickless. In California, I don't think you guys voted on it. I mean, unless you remember, in my county in California, McDonald says they took the lights out. Now those cameras are used only to track stolen vehicles. Whatever.
See, you know why they work? They work because some people just don't care, and they're like, it's not worth fighting, and they just pay it
Yeah,
instead of fighting it. There needs to be a better procedure in fighting. And I mean, listen, I've never gotten one, but I know if I did, I'd be subpoenaing everybody.
well,
You're
here's
all coming. I want the person who hung up the camera. I want to know exactly where it is. I want somebody there who timed it. I want to know who processed it. I want to know who videotaped and looked at it. I want proof that it was my car and you didn't get the plate behind because of where we were. You know, I want to know who was behind me. Was there an emergency that I needed to pull over and that was the only way that I could do it? I want everything. I want you to tell me everybody who was on that road that day. Everybody.
yeah. Matthew says, MLH, I got a similar ticket in college. I lived on campus, so I was at my home, and it was about midnight. Nobody was around, and I lived there. Cop was sitting in the dark waiting for someone to roll it. Yeah, you're talking about a stop sign, right, Matthew? You know, it's they wait for stuff like that all the time, Matthew. How many times have you seen cops just
And actually, that's supposed to be considered entrapment. They're supposed to have their lights on so you can see them. They're not supposed to be hiding in the shadows of the dark. At least in Pennsylvania, that's the rule, that you're not allowed to entrap me. They have to leave their lights on.
Well, yeah, the same here. But they leave their lights off all the time, and they say, "Well, the side lights were on." You know, yeah, right, motherfucker. I mean, they're so shady in what they do, and I'm gonna get back to the Supreme Court case where the Supreme Court said that it was okay for cops to lie. I think that's to their detriment because now none of us trust the cops, and that's a big reason why, right? That's a huge reason why you should not trust a cop because they lie, and they're allowed to lie. If they weren't allowed to lie, then you could trust what a cop has to say, right? But you can't trust anything that comes out of their mouths because of that decision.
And Bluto, I also want to know who cleans the lens. How can you see that? How often are you going up there cleaning that lens of that camera? I mean, there's so many questions, but people don't want to go through that. And I mean, to be honest, when I was working, you know, it was a little more difficult. But that ticket that I got for the texting, I was PO'd because I was like, there was no way. I don't care if you made me go to court 5 times. I was going. You know, I was taken off that time, but
Right.
there's so many things that people don't realize that they just take for granted that people are going to be lazy and just pay the fine. And then
Yeah,
here's the thing, when it comes up to it again, you know, they can say, well, look, he's got a past history of it because you pleaded guilty to it. And then when you go to change insurances, they see it too.
Yeah, yeah. It's a vicious cycle, and then people complain about insurance, right? Well, they raise their insurance based on you guys pleading guilty to everything. I mean and I'm guilty of it too. I just said I mean it was an inconvenience for me, right? But it was a very expensive inconvenience, $172 for fucking supposedly not stopping at a stop sign, which
Well, and some of it has to do with inexperience too. I mean, would you do it differently now than you did back then? Now that you know what you know, you probably would have. I mean, you probably would do it now where you would fight it. But
I
back
would try
then,
it. Yeah.
people didn't know that. So they're just like, okay, well, he said I did. Who are they going to believe, the cop or me? And that's exactly the way they want you to think.
Yeah, exactly. But in a way, that's kind of true too, because if all the judge has is a police a testimony versus your
Good
testimony,
morning, John.
the judge is always going to take the cops' side of things because of what we talked about earlier. They're the fucking heroes, right? But I mean, that's why that Supreme Court case I got to look up.
Well, I can tell you in my texting situation, there was a little more than 20 people there, and I was the only one that was not guilty. The only one that was found not guilty.
Unbelievable. John DeNicola, welcome to chat. Nice to have you in here.
And here's my thing. What do you think the chances are of 22 people being guilty of these crimes, all by the same officer who happened to be sitting in the parking lot of a furniture store and observed it during his lunch break?
Right. 22.
Come on.
I
These
know.
people are not. They just didn't care enough to fight it, or they just figured they can't beat the system, or they weren't as angry or agitated, or I don't know what it is, or the fear that, the judge is not going to believe you, which 99% of the time is truly the case.
Yeah, that is the case. And
But
it's
if somebody else would have said what I did, that, do you feel you can truly be impartial over this employee of yours? And then say, okay, well, if it doesn't go I'm going to appeal it. Maybe a few more people would have won that day, because I think the judge knew. He knew his guy was lying. I mean, he's full time for you, and all these people get pulled over on his lunch break. What do you think the chances are of getting 20 people caught for a crime during your lunch break?
texting. Get out of here. How do you know? Come on. Did you subpoena the phone records to find out if somebody texts at that exact same time? The fuck out of here with that nonsense. I mean, and most modern cars, like I know my car, Ellie, I like the Siri thing. Hey Siri, call mom, and it'll call
Right.
your mom. It's like come on, or text. I'll get a text from someone, and it'll say,
And it'll read you the text, and then it'll ask if you want to respond. I mean,
you want to
that's the
respond.
thing. But the people weren't thinking that process out. I was thinking every single process out on what they were going to say, versus, because I knew what my car was capable of doing, and I knew that I was innocent. Let alone, listen, you got to have some damn good eyesight if you're going to see me driving 55 miles an hour past you while you're in a parking lot, and you're in a low car, and I'm in an SUV. Come on. Come on. That's
Right,
like some X-ray vision and shit.
right. I mean, look, I'll give you guys an update. KDOT and I are trying to work on maybe doing a petition so that you don't get pulled over for petty offenses like expired plates, or broken tail light, or all these things that sometimes add up to people getting killed, right? Like
Actually, I think the petition would be better served, honestly, if it was a petition that all courtroom cases should, unless it contains a sexual offense with a child, that part should be covered out. But still shown that every court case should be open to the public and viewed on camera.
I agree with that too. Like they should,
Because then people are going to start to see. How do you know? Like, for example, if somebody wasn't there that day, that was just the 20 pull that I was pulled into. You think that there's the only 20 people that guy pulled over? So if more people got to see that and see what's happening in their local courthouses and say, wow, this cop said the same lie that he said to me, you're going to start pulling that stuff out more. I would rather see a petition that says across the United States, all courthouses have cameras and everything is viewed.
well,
You can block out somebody's name. You can block out their face, just like you don't show the jury. You can turn the camera away if it's, somebody. You don't need to say their name in that case. But I find it repulsive that, court TV or long crime channels can have cameras in certain trials, but not in all trials. Look, if it's fair for them, it better be fair for all. Just because they have money and they're giving you a kickback should mean absolutely nothing.
I agree, Ellie, and that's a whole different thing. We're just looking at a local level issue here. You know what I mean? I mean, it's, and I talked to Kate out about this, and this is, I look, the amount of signatures needed, it's probably not going to happen. But the idea is there. How many times have there been petty offenses that ended up in tragedy, right? Just because these cops have egos, or whatever the case is, it needs to stop, right? If there's a crime that's so petty, like a registration or a tail light, why don't you just run the plate and send that ticket to that person? Why do you have to pull them over? And potentially there could be, you know, uh, some nervousness that kicks in. Like I saw a video of there's actually a case here in Denver, a civil case going on with a black. Of course, it's a black guy, right? That was just really nervous and not understanding what was going on. And it escalated to the point where he got arrested and kicked the shit out of, and it's like it's basically licensed to do these things. And that's what KDOT and I are looking at this, like in other counties, like I think in California and New York, petty offenses like tail lights being broken is not a reason to pull you over. And that's what we're trying to get here in Denver. You know,
Well, I think something like that. I'm going to disagree a little bit with you. Is it petty? Yes, but depending on what it is, just because it didn't hurt anybody or didn't cause an accident doesn't mean that it can't.
no, I
So
get it, Ellie.
just because you run a stop sign and you didn't hit anybody doesn't mean that you shouldn't have to pay some type of a penalty.
No.
But I think that there should be a warning for it. So listen, you have so many days, go fix this. Especially if it's like a taillight. I'm sorry, but I can't see my taillights. I'm driving. Thanks for bringing it to my attention, officer. I'll be happy to go get it fixed, and I'll be happy to show you proof that I got it fixed. Give me 7 days or 10 days, and I'll be happy to email you the receipt that it's fixed, or even come up and you can see it. But I can't see that my tail light's out.
Or how about this, Ellie? You have a broken taillight, right? And the cop sees you have a broken taillight. So instead of pulling you over, you get a summons in the mail. Hey, this is Officer so and so, and I saw your light was out.
No,
Okay.
because then they could mistake things. No, you pull me over right away. You make sure it was me that was driving. How do you know it's the registered owner of the vehicle
Well,
versus the driver? There's
it
too much that goes on.
If it wasn't, it's not. Who cares? The car is in your name. You need to make sure that it's taken care of, right? So, regardless of who's driving that car, you get the message. Hey, and now you got 10 days to fix it. Okay, I fixed it. Here's the proof. You send it in, and there's no problem, no issue. It's done, and there you go. And if you lie about it, and you happen to get another, a cop looks you up and he's like, "Oh, this person said that they did it, but apparently they didn't." That's when you get pulled over, right? So that's what I'm
Hey,
saying.
unindoctrinated.
Unindoctrinated. Nice to have you in here.
Oh, no. I think you still got to get pulled over. Give the chance. Let them understand it because, listen, with mail, things get lost and whatever. So I don't mind if they pull me over. I think they should be more friendly. Hi, I'm Officer so-and-so. I'm pulling you over. Were you aware that you had a tail light out? No? Okay, let me show you. Look, this is just it's just a warning to say that you have 10 days to go fix it. Do me a favor, get it fixed. This goes away. Okay, and we can go there. I just want to make sure you're safe because if somebody behind you, if all your lights go out and they don't see you and they hit you, it can cause an accident. Great, thanks, officer. I appreciate that. Thanks for helping me out.
Do you think
You brought it to my attention. Great job.
Something like cracked windshield, right? If it's out of your purview, like I've had cracked windshields that were on the driver's side and stuff, and I was always worried about getting pulled over for that. And
That's correct.
People do get pulled over for that. I think it's bullshit. I think it's total fucking horseshit.
Yes, Matthew, I am guilty as charged. I am 100% suggesting that the cops should protect and serve. Absolutely. But I'm also for if anybody wants to file a class action suit with vehicles that are police vehicles that say to serve and protect, and they don't because the Supreme Court said that's not their job. So if they're false advertising, I think they should be sued.
I agree. Susie Tried, welcome. Nice to have you in here.
Hey, Susie.
We're having a general discussion. We started with the Elijah McClain trial, second trial in a series of 3 trials. The officer was found, of course, not guilty. So let me ask you this, Ellie. Do you think it would be a good thing if they overturned that decision that cops could lie to you?
Yes, I don't think that she should be able to lie at all.
Right.
In any circumstance, if you don't have the evidence faking through to get it, you're not doing your job. You're asking me to do your job. And that's not what I'm paying my people to do. So, yeah, I hold them to a higher standard because they chose that higher standard of a position. And listen, you're in the position to actually kill me or to lock me up. Right. So, yes, I'm absolutely going to hold you to a higher standard. But how can I do that when the judge allows you to lie?
Right. See, that's my whole thing. But I wish that I mean, I just think it was super unfortunate because I think that could go a long ways to to building trust with the public, right? If you're not able, if you, I mean, I'm not saying you're not capable of lying, because everybody's capable of lying, but if the courts say cops can't lie and you're caught in a lie, well, then you don't have to worry about it. And now this is also the case for cops on the stand. They lie all the time on the stand, and they're never held unindoctrinated. Take care. Nice to have you in here. John says, I'm sorry, but those cops and EMS workers should go straight to in jail in Elijah's case. I agree, John. And they should have. I'm in full agreement with you. Yeah, I am. And KDOT and I have been tirelessly working on things regarding that case, and bringing you the information and even extra information that you wouldn't get from the lamestream legacy media, as someone put it earlier. I think it was Gimmickless called them the legacy media. Susie says they are in a position to protect and to serve. The important thing is to remind them they are there to serve the public. Yeah, but they don't. That's the thing. And this whole lying thing gets to me, because that's the core and essence of the distrust between cops and
here's the thing. If it's so easy for them to lie to me, isn't it just as easy for them to lie on the stand?
Yeah, it is. That's the thing. And that's
practice makes perfect.
I think that Supreme Court decision is probably one of the amongst the worst decisions amongst all of.
And let's be honest, part of why OJ got off was because of Furman, who lied and planted evidence. So you wonder why.
Yeah. Furman was a piece of shit, by the way.
Your case should have been stronger, but it was a strong case. There was no reason to lie, and he did.
Yeah, and that's what caused.
And a murderer got off because of it.
I see. There you go. Technicalities. Anytime anytime a cop gets caught lying in court, they should be charged with perjury, and if convicted, put on a public Brady's list. I agree with that, John. You know what? I've said this for years. And actually, let me give you guys an update. KDOT and I had a conversation with Jeff, the independent monitor, yesterday about another case that we're working on. I can't really talk too much about it right now, but I will give you guys an update on it. But yeah, it's just that it's treachery all the way around. It's that decision has sown more dissension between the police and people than I think almost anything else. Terry v. Ohio. You can go down the list of Supreme Court decisions that were, either good or bad. But the thing that caused the most dissension between the public and the cops is the fact that they can lie without penalty. So go ahead, Ellie.
No, I'm good. Go ahead.
Oh no. So I was just saying. I've said for years, John, that cops should have deeper penalties. So even on down to the smallest things, right? If there's jaywalking, right? If there's such a thing as jaywalking, and a cop let's say the fine for jaywalking in a regular person's case was $50. All right, let's
be honest. Stop right there for a second.
Uh-huh.
Jaywalking is absolutely absurd.
I agree, but
you're responsible for your own safety. So if you want to get hit because you're crossing the street at an inappropriate place, isn't that on you? Mm-hmm. It's not your job to protect me. Remember? Right. So jaywalking is asinine. I'm an adult. I can cross the street.
I agree, Ellie. But see, it is asinine. That's what I'm saying. But it's on the list of quote unquote crimes, right? It's probably the lowest of the low. Jaywalking. Would you agree? Or maybe littering. I don't know.
No, I don't believe that jaywalking is a crime at all.
Okay, but according to the law as it stands now, it's the lowest of the lowest, right? It's not like a class 4 misdemeanor or a first degree felony or anything like that. It's like the lowest of the low as far as quote unquote crimes are concerned. Let's take something else, for instance, littering. All right, littering, throwing a piece of paper on the ground, right? That's a low end crime, right? But let's say I throw out a piece of paper and it costs me, well, in the case of Denver, Colorado, it could be $1,000. But let's say it was $50, right? Let's say I throw out a gum wrapper and a cop catches me, and I'm guilty as charged because they got it on camera and there's no question that I littered, right? And the penalty is $50. I think if a cop is caught littering, it should be $100. You see what I mean? The
Oh,
penalties,
absolutely.
the
Their
penalties,
punishment should be double.
their
Absolutely.
their penalty should be double. So if you commit, let's say, let's say murder in the third degree is up to 20 years for a regular person, right? Should be 40 years for a cop. It should be any
Yeah,
crime.
but the problem is they actually get considerably less than what you and I would get
I
for the same
agree,
crime.
but it should be double, Ellie, is
I
what
mean,
I'm saying.
look at the cop in Hawaii who molested 2 children, 4 and 6 years old. He got probation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probation.
John, thanks for being here, man. Appreciate it. Susie said, did you hear about the boy here in Canada? Basically said he was kidnapped to his parents and he had a gun to his head and a knife to his stomach. Just happened here. I did not hear about that, Susie. That's unfortunate. Gimmickless says also the militarized police causing a further divide. Yeah, so that's another thing. Why do the cops have any type of military gear, right? I mean, you got cops rolling around in fucking Humvees in certain counties, carrying around like I've seen like SWAT teams carry like, I mean, just weapons of mass destruction, basically. It's like all the camo gear, all that type of stuff. I agree with you, Gimmickless. That we should not have a militarized police at all, ever. Let's see. Who else do we got here? I thought I missed a comment. No, I think I got all the comments. So
And let's be honest, if a police officer gets terminated for cause in one district, they sure as heck shouldn't be hireable in any other district or state.
I agree with that as well. I think if you're convicted, especially of a felony, that it's over everywhere. Anywhere, you should be put on a perma ban list from being a cop anywhere. I don't believe. I think you should lose that privilege, and it's supposed to be a privilege, right? To serve the public interest, and the public. No, the family were terrorized where this kid's phone was pinged from. Ooh, sounds. I'd have to look into that, Susie. He wasn't there, of course, but they did a poor job for possible kidnapping. Well, look, the police aren't interested in solving crime, at least here in the United States, Susie. I'm pretty sure it's the same way in Canada. They don't care. Only 2% of all crime is solved nationwide. So, you know, I mean, I brought that stat up to somebody in Aurora. It was an Aurora cop, and he scoffed at it. He was like, well, we solve about 10%. Like he was puffing out his chest, and I was like, I don't believe what you're saying is true because you're not special, but let's say that is true. You're happy that you only solve 10% of all crime in your area? Really?
Well, but that just goes to show that 90% is not being solved. You suck at your job.
That's right. That's what I said.
You suck.
Matter of fact, Ellie, I told him, I said, if I worked somewhere and I did 10% of my job, I'd be fired, and you should be fired. You're proud of 10%. Get the fuck out of here. Mushroom Manny, welcome. Nice to have you in chat. We're discussing a variety of issues, including the Elijah McClain trial, the not guilty verdict, in which a cop basically choked the fuck out of Elijah McClain. And he was afraid for his life, Mushroom Manny. That's what the claim was, that he thought he was going to get shot. Susie said,
and here's the thing: all he had to do was let the kid walk home.
yeah,
He was minding his own business with his food, walking down the road, and he found it suspicious. And I don't find it suspicious.
Yeah. It is bad, Susie Tried says. And these are the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, basically run all the smaller police stations across Canada. Yeah, I know. It's there's a lot of issues with the police. Mushroom says, disgusting behavior as expected from our so-called servants. Yeah, they don't serve us in any shape, form, or fashion, Mushroom. And then it's funny because the bootlickers will say, well, if you weren't in their face with that camera, they would be just fine. No, yeah, of course they would be just fine. They would be just fine covering up their crimes and planting evidence.
Don't you wish Elijah McClain would have had a camera
I totally do.
instead of just body cam? I mean, to even accuse him of having a gun made no sense, because at what part did you feel unsafe? Was it when you pulled your gun out? Because if you thought he had a gun, why didn't you say, hey, let me see your hands? You didn't do that. That was after you were already putting him in a lock. It wasn't prior to then, because we could clearly see he didn't have a gun.
Right.
You just cared about where he was going, and he didn't want to talk to you. And you got your feeties hurt.
He wanted to show his dominance over a black man, Ellie, or a black kid. I mean, let's be real here. It's about power and control, right?
Right. And I'm not going to necessarily say that it was a racial thing versus a control and dominance thing. And I think I'm not saying that it's not racial. I'm just saying that I don't see enough support evidence that it was racial in that situation.
Well,
but I do think it was all about dominance. And let's be honest, you didn't shoot him. You loaded him up on ketamine, for God's sake.
You think that the same outcome would have happened if it was a white kid that had been walking through there? I think you're delusional if you think that.
It could have. That's how much it is. You can't say that it doesn't happen, because it does. It's just, what do you hear more of?
Yeah.
You hear more of, because that's the narrative that the government wants to put out. I don't think that it's all that. I'm not saying there's not racism. There absolutely is.
Well,
but I'm saying that it's not. It's more generated by power and control. That I will tell you. Now, do they sit there and look like they can maybe control somebody who's of African descent than they can with somebody that's white? Maybe. But is it a hate crime that I hate black people? I can't say that I see that in this. If I'm going to be fair,
I can't say for sure, Ellie, but the statistics don't lie. There's a huge white supremacist problem in the.
But I will say that he absolutely was murdered, in my opinion, and absolutely they should be spending the rest of their life in jail. That's just my opinion. Apparently, the jury was of peers and feared for whatever reason, I guess.
Yeah. Mushroom Manny says, my boss is from Germany and was asking how to handle a stop with the policeman. And my first step was turn on your camera and go live if you can. That's a great point, Mushroom Manny. I mean, any encounter with the police, you should have your camera up and running. And if you have a YouTube channel or Facebook Live or something, just go live, so that there's a record. I mean, that, what? I tell this story, Ellie, and it's absolutely true. If you guys remember, I don't know if I was live, but I was in Vegas a couple years back, Ellie. I know you remember when I was there, and I did do some videos out there while I was there, and I saved 2 people from getting arrested. And who knows, from there it could have been arrest to beat you up to kill you. I mean, that's how close things can get, So I felt empowered. I felt like I was doing the right thing, I mean, one guy came up to me and he's like, dude, if you weren't here, I have a warrant out for my arrest, and I, for whatever reason, man, they just let me go, and I think it was due to you. And I was like, it probably was, man. Always record the police. Always record the police. It is hard to prove that there was racial bias in that one, Mushroom. I agree. I tend to think the government sees us all as criminals, regardless of color these days. No, that's not entirely true, Mushroom. If you have money, then you're in a different class.
But see, I agree with Mushroom Manny, because it's government that's pushing the racism. Let's be honest, and wants that division. That's why I keep bringing it up. That's why they're taught, even in sports, this is the first black woman to do this. This is the first black male to do this. I don't freaking care. Why don't you just say this is the first time this person did this, or this sets a record? Why do you got to single it out that it's race and then teach that it's race that caused the crime, versus government wants to control us all? And in your same thing, and this is why I'm going to disagree with you, in your same point, we're all the lower majority of people. And that has nothing to do with color. It has to do with your government controlling. So I don't jump to
Money.
to I don't jump to race. Race is not it. I look at each thing individually. It is very hard to prove racism. You can see that there is some, but I'm not jumping to racism on anything versus looking at the situation and saying what you did is wrong. If you stop making it about race, then the government loses. But when the minute you keep that narrative going, they're winning because they're still spreading that. Oh, so the government wants us to. I'm a bootlicker. So do you want us to hate black people or you want us to hate this person? Stop doing that shit. Stop pronouncing it that it's about color when it's about what's right and wrong, and that these cops and our government are criminal. End of story. And we are all victims equally. There's no difference between you, me, or KDOT. Being in a situation where the cops can take advantage of us, they will 100% do that.
I agree, but proportionally, the numbers don't lie, Ellie. You know what I mean?
No, but you're looking at proportionally where a specific area might be predominantly black versus being predominantly another color, and that's why you see it happening more often. But if you take it as a general whole, that's not the case. The case is we are all victims of the government and the police, and that's exactly the way they want it. But they like the extra push, so I can't support, especially in this case, that it's about race. I think they would have killed him if it was anybody who defied answering those questions and saying that, yes, sir, master, yes, sir, I'm going to bow, I'm going to kiss your foot, and I'm just trying to go home. And do you want to take me home? You want to see where I live? You want my ID? How much money would you like? That's what it became about. It did not become about race.
I think that in the case of the United States, the government is way too powerful at this point.
I agree, Gimmickless. They want us to fight each other. 100.
I think I would agree with you too, Gimmickless, in this respect. Like the government is way too big for his britches right now, and nothing's getting done. Like we talk about infrastructure, right? But you made a good point, Ellie. We just sent I think it was $250 million more to the Ukraine, right? Well, $250 million would go a long ways to fix some of these roads around here, right? I mean, the fucking highways are.
Well, you could house people. You know what I mean? Why can't you house people? Why can't you really show where the drugs came from and that you get your piece of the pie? I mean, what happened with weed? Let's be honest. You decriminalized weed because you decided that there was no way for you to win against that because that was the biggest thing out there and you wanted your share.
It's not decriminalized yet. I wished it was decriminalized.
Well, you know what I mean, where it's legalized, depending on the area on that. But they wanted their share. End of story. So they said, okay, let's make this legal when it never should have been illegal to begin with.
Right, I agree.
Because, I mean, listen, who first start planting that shit? Versus you get the meth and the cokes and the heroines, which is all chemical based, which happened from where? Our government.
Right.
Where did it start? You wanted our soldiers to stay up longer and be able to fight. So give them this shit. And then, we can make our own. And then you said, oh no, you're cutting into our profit. Yeah. You can't do that. We were billing the taxpayers for this. And now you're trying to make your own. Oh no, we got to have a war on drugs now.
Yep.
What, the war that you started? You started the war. And now you changed your mind.
Yeah. Gimmickless, that's a good point too. He says they won't release the Epstein client list because they are on it.
Exactly.
I agree. I think, I mean, even a person like Donald Trump, which people hold in high regard for whatever reason, is on that list, man. There's a massive list of people on that.
And I'll be honest, I am sick and tired of even the states being divided. Even in the United States, the states are divided. You tell me why. I live in Pennsylvania and, I'm disabled. I have a medical marijuana card. But, if I want, let's say I wanted a gummy, I got to drive across state lines to New Jersey where it's recreational. Wait a minute. So you can do it recreational there, but because I live on this other side of the line right here, then I can't be responsible to do it recreationally? That's ridiculous.
Are you saying you're crossing state lines with weed, Ellie?
No. I don't have to because I have my card. Right. But if I was smart, and if I knew the right people, which I don't, and listen, my medical card can prove what I do, I would rather buy it from the dude on the corner than to buy from my state. A, he's going to have better shit
Yeah.
probably, and
Yeah.
B, it's going to be a lot less expensive
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
what it is there. Let's
It,
be
it,
honest.
a funny
You
thing
know,
is happening here in Colorado, Ellie. Colorado was the first state to legalize weed, right? And it was a battle. It was a battle for years and years and years. It just so happens that Colorado
yeah,
was
but then they said, okay, it's only going to be for medical. But then it became recreational. So now
no,
you have states that have just medical and states that have
right,
both medical and
right,
recreational, and then some states that don't have either. I can tell
right,
you for Pennsylvania, recreational is not going to be on the ballot choice, or not. I'm sorry, not on the ballot because it's never been put on the ballot,
right.
but reject it from putting on the ballot for another 4 years. So it's going to take another 4 years. Listen, don't you think, and I don't smoke pot. I don't. Okay.
Uh-huh,
It's just not my thing. You know what I do. I do the THC drops and stuff, the tincture drops.
right.
But listen, I don't know many high people that are on weed that are going out killing people and shit, that
No,
are driving reckless. Usually they're slow, they're thought in their process, they're happier people, they like
a
to
little more
laugh.
lethargic,
They're not
like
going out killing people and shit.
right,
So
right.
maybe I was wrong the whole time, and maybe we should make it mandatory that everybody smokes weed. Be fucking happy, people. Smoke weed, chillax. All
Smoke
right,
weed
everything's
every
cool. Kumbaya. Let's all get along. You know, maybe I had it wrong this whole time.
No, look, Ellie, I do smoke weed. I know that's a big surprise to everybody. I mean, long hair and all. Um, it's funny because the point I was making about here in Colorado, like it is about money, right? Because nobody was willing to take that leap until Colorado decided, you know what, we could make a shit ton of money from this. And the effective rate, I think, is almost 30% on weed. If you go to a dispensary and you buy weed, you're going to pay upwards of 30% on your weed. That's why a lot of these places now, I mean, it's becoming really, really cutthroat. A lot of these places are coming out with super cheap weed, like I mean, dirt cheap weed, but most of it goes to fucking taxes. So you could buy. I saw one place, it was an ounce of weed for like $35 or some shit in
I can't. I
America.
don't know if that's cheap or not.
It
I don't
is
buy
cheap.
it.
The,
So
the average when it first came out was $100 to $200 an ounce, depending on what type of weed that you got. So now we're down to about $30. It may be quote unquote a lesser strain, but you can get
so then you know how they deliver all these political things in the mail?
yeah.
Maybe the government should be delivering joints.
I would fully agree with that.
You want
Susie
me to
says
vote for you? Attach said joint to your
right.
pamphlet.
No, I think it should be an ounce of weed. That's what we're legally allowed to carry here in Colorado. Ellie, give me an ounce of weed, and I'll ounce a day is what it is. So you can have
Now,
yeah.
I don't usually do this, but you have it highlighted, so I'm going to answer it because I hate political questions. But Susie asks, do you think if Trump wins, do you think he will leave the presidency? No, because I
No,
think he's a narcissistic piece of shit asshole.
yeah.
I'm sure I'm going to offend some people in there, but I'm not a Trump supporter. But
I'm not
please understand that both things can be true at the same time.
right.
I am also not a Biden supporter. I
Right.
don't think that there is a good choice at all.
Right. I
Okay, so
agree.
I don't support one over the other. I think they're both pieces of crap. The only thing excuse I can give for Biden is he doesn't know that he's president.
Yeah.
In all fairness, so you got to give him that. He is dementia, so
Yeah.
he doesn't realize. I think there's even stand-ins for him. I don't think that they're even always him. But I think if Trump wins, it's a travesty because, again, I'm going to hold my president to a higher standard than I'm going to hold anybody else. If you're in charge of this country and you going around doing the shit you do, he is not this big successful business people that people think he is. He inherited money. He's filed bankruptcy. He hasn't paid people. Why do you think he's not in the casino business anymore?
Right.
Because he
Right.
ripped those people off. If
Right.
you do your research, you will see the strikes in the casinos that closed because of that man. He is a piece of crap who called for the death of 5 innocent black people in that case of the what was it, the Central
The,
Park
the
Five, and
exonerated
took
five.
out ads. Look it up. asking for their death. That is not somebody who should ever be president. He didn't hear all the facts when he took that out. He didn't wait till the end of the trial for that. He just assumed that these 5 black kids were guilty, and it was proven that they were innocent, and yet he still stands behind that position.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
would you want somebody who spreads that evilness to be in charge of your government? Why? Because he says some things that you agree with when he pisses
Right.
people off and calls out fake media and shit. That's not a qualification for being president. Being a crime of doing fraud is not, being a qualification for being a good president. So I'm sorry that I think Trump winning would be a travesty. I would rather hope that if Biden's going to win, which I don't want either, I'm hoping somebody beats him in the Democrats. But if he's going to win, then I got to hope that he passes on. God help me. And then I got to hope somebody takes out Camilla, because that woman, you don't even see her as being vice president. So I don't even think we have one, to be honest with you. And then let's get down to the Secretary of State. That's how you're going to more than get better to somebody else. But neither choice is good. And Trump is an idiot. And anybody who stands behind him, you got to sit back and look at your morals. He is one reason who can sit there and prove that he paid $752 in taxes with the money he claims. And you're okay with that? You're okay with him saying that he grabs women's crotches? You're okay with him saying that he's going to marry that 10-year-old? You're okay with him committing fraud and using his presidency to further his own agenda and want his own people in there? You got to look at yourself. Just because he says F you to the cops or F you to this person or that person because he doesn't like and spread false narrative does not make him a good candidate for presidency. Nothing changes when you vote for somebody like that. Nothing. I'll get off my soapbox now. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. I let you go, Ellie. It's like a ripcord. You just rip it and let it go. Matthew says politicians should be required to take magic mushrooms, in my opinion. Well, you know what? If they smoked a few more joints, I think they would chill and realize that things don't have to be so bad, and not everybody needs an exorbitant amount of money to be happy. I mean, if you look at things, money doesn't exactly make you happy. I mean, I've had periods in my life where I've had way more money than what I have now, and I was way less happy than what I am now. So it's the root of all evil, capitalism, and all that good fun stuff. Matthew says that's a good point. He says research shows if Trump simply took the money he inherited, which he did inherit all of his money, which is another thing. He didn't earn anything ever in his life.
He cheated his way through. Even in school, he cheated his way.
Yeah,
he's the biggest piece of crap. And he thinks he's so intelligent. But, I mean, people really got to start looking at, first of all, you shouldn't even be allowed. Anybody ever hear the word nepotism?
Yes.
But yet you're going to hire your own children and family to be in positions of power and to have access in the White House? Ridiculous. Now, Biden's guilty of the same thing. You should not ever be allowed to do that. It automatically shows nepotism the minute you hire somebody that is related to you in family. Ridiculous. And it shouldn't be allowed. It never would have happened to begin with.
Yeah.
If that rule applied.
In fairness, Biden didn't hire anybody into his cabinet that he's related to. So
but he did allow his son to be in charge of the Ukraine thing, and look how much money that he stole to do what? So listen, I understand that people do drugs and they come back from it and everything else, but your son is actively doing it, and yet listen, it's no doubt in my mind that cocaine that they found in the White House belonged to him, 100%. But and the laptop, I think, is a real thing. But yeah, you're right. He does want to keep it in family. And this is why I hate, because there's so many people out there that are so magma. Listen, America, get down to it. Let's be honest. That's a false narrative that people put, America's great and blah, blah, blah. No, there might be some things that are a little bit better here than are in some countries, but it's still not great.
Yeah, it's not great. I don't think this country's ever been truly great, Ellie. I know that's controversial. There's a lot of good things about this country, especially when you're talking,
but it doesn't make it great.
It doesn't make it great. That's right. Two things can be true, right? I mean, that's what we talked about earlier.
You know what's great? Fuck Off Island is great. Excuse my language. Fuck Off Island is amazing. Ain't nobody in charge there. We all do our own thing. Everybody contributes what they can. Now, you don't need any of this other shit. We are so overtopped with government officials. I mean, think about how, if everybody did their local police station and look how many police officers you have per population, it's disgusting.
Right.
It
I mean,
proves that they think that we're all criminals when you
Ellie,
need to have 1 to every 400 or 1 to every 500. My God,
it's
are you
funny.
kidding? Everybody's going around ripping everybody off. I mean, just throw us all in jail. But then on the other hand, aren't we already in prison to begin with?
Well, Ellie, that's a great point. There's something to be said about a school to prison pipeline, right? I was looking at like how we treat our kids in public schools. The public school, like there's a high school not too far from me that's being redone, and it looks like a fucking prison now. Like they've made it look like a prison. When you go into those schools, everything is metal detector this, and I got a cop at the front, and you guys got to wear uniforms, and I mean it's getting people indoctrinated into basically going to prison. If you
And
think about it.
Matthew's last statement is 100% correct.
Yeah, grandfather Frederick Trump earned the family fortune from a whorehouse he illegally ran on land that wasn't his. Yeah, that's well-known fact. And also, his dad, Fred Trump, was a scumlord. Indoctrination school gimmickless. No, I mean, you're being indoctrinated into the prison pipeline gimmickless. Like at least
But
here,
but Gimmicklis is right too. It is. They teach you the parts of history they want you to know.
right?
When did you ever learn that the government was at fault in school?
Never.
When did you ever learn that that cops can do things that are wrong and that judges take bribes? When did you ever learn that?
Never.
Because
And
I
here's
never learned that in school.
and it's
That
funny.
was a hard knock life for me.
When I was growing up, we were always taught that we never lost a war, Ellie, and nothing could be further from the
Yeah,
truth.
we were the best. That's where it came out that America's the best. We're the best. Well, now you really look at it, we suck too.
Yeah, I mean, look at Vietnam. We couldn't even win that war, and that Vietnam's a small country. Look at the Afghanistan war. I mean, sure, we killed bin Laden, but did we really win that war? I mean, all the money that we spent for what? To kill one guy? I mean, okay, we killed him. Great. I mean, I don't disagree. He's a piece of shit, but uh, okay, we killed the one guy. That's what we got out of the war, right? I mean, just
And it
crazy.
took how many people and how many lost lives to kill one person?
Right,
Are you kidding me?
right,
That is
right.
ridiculous. But let's be honest, war is a huge moneymaker for governments.
100%.
Huge.
100%. Why do you think that they give these massive contracts to the Boeings of the world and the
Yep.
Lockheed Martin? Here in Colorado is one of the biggest Lockheed Martin facilities in all the United States. I mean, we make more, we give more money to government contractors than we do our people. It's not even close. It's not even
Of
close.
course we do. It's disgusting.
Yeah, it's
And it
gross.
started with deals like with Frito-Lay. I mean, if you go back and look at those histories of the chips and the Coca-Colas and everything, how they were going to help sponsor the war and do this, but
Right.
they go in with this amount and then change it to this, and they have this contract. It was all crap to begin with,
Yeah.
but
And
people don't want to look at that.
this is another thing. They don't teach you your rights. That's right.
That's
they'll
true
teach you
too.
they'll teach you about the Constitution. Here's the Constitution, and this is what it says, but it doesn't teach you how to
And
use
now
it.
they don't even want to teach you to write in cursive because they sure as hell don't want you to read it.
Right. Right.
That would be a no-no.
Matthew says, I was a senior in high school when 9/11 happened. Prior to that, I was planning to attend the U.S. Military Academy.
Hold
West
on one
Point.
second before you finish that.
Mm.
Matthew, don't brag on how young you are. Let's not brag for us that are senior citizens
Right.
here. Not very nice. I love you, but come on now.
You
But
got
no,
a
go ahead.
couple
I'm
of senior
kidding.
citizens on the panel, Matthew. I mean, come on, man. I mean,
That
I was
just kind of
accepted.
ouched me a little there. Like,
I know. I
shit.
moved you, Ellie. I mean, I mean, I do have to say, I'm a little younger than you, Ellie. I'm just saying.
You are a lot younger than you think.
Not a lot. Not a lot.
You are.
I am not. I was accepted and had a congressional appointment and everything. And then Matthew said, I said, fuck that war. Right. Gimmickless says inflation and shrinkflation. Yeah. Razor, nice to have you back in here, man. He says, it's amazing. Years ago when I was a dirt eater in 70s as a kid, cops had the motto "protect and serve" on every vehicle, and was a protect and serve cop. But ever since the early 2000s, I noticed a change. It's because they're allowed to lie and they're not responsible for your safety. Razor, we covered this earlier. The Supreme Court has ruled that they're allowed to lie and they are not responsible for your safety. I believe that was actually happened here in Colorado, Gonzalez versus Castle Rock. So, there you go. Yeah, we're just old farts, Matthew. Don't worry. Tonight on Bernie's
I
channel.
did. I wish he
mean,
was up there the whole time,
I
but
know. You know what? If I got Matthew to be up on panel and just keep his camera on and nobody else's on, I think I would get like 50 more women in chat, like easily. It's like not even a thing. Did you see y'all? Seattle made a law. Cops can't lie. That's not true, Razor. Supreme Court has definitely ruled that they can lie, and they do lie. If it's a local thing, I'm sure the federal president would overrule that.
yeah, the minute that the cop gets proven to have lied, then they're going to go with the Supreme Court crap.
Yeah.
Which again is the Supreme Court is crap. So why everybody wants to get to the Supreme Court is beyond me because they're crap.
Yeah. Well, I want to get to the Supreme Court for a different reason, but we'll talk about that later on another panel. Susie says, "Damn, Matthew, you've been growing a beard to hide your baby face." He can grow a beard. He can not have a beard. I mean, just if you throw Matthew on panel, you're gonna get.
He doesn't have to do a whole lot. Let's be honest.
I mean, come on.
I love you, Matthew. Your singing is amazing, but you don't even have to open your mouth. Let's be honest.
I know. Like, look, I mean, Matthew's the type of guy that I really fucking hated in high school because he was so good looking and so talented. Like, I think he can.
I'm sure he got all the cheerleaders and everything else.
Cheerleaders,
yeah,
all that shit. I mean,
he was probably homecoming king, and Matthew, I'll probably say he wasn't, but I'm sure he was.
Matthew's one of these type of guys where you're right. He doesn't even have to open his mouth, right? So he doesn't open his mouth, and he's got.
Look, Jen even pops in. He's a looker.
Jen, how dare you, Jen? But look, no, he's the type of guy he could just not say anything. The chicks love him, but when he does open his mouth, he's an amazing fucking singer. And I think, I'm not 100% sure on this. Matthew's going to have to correct me if I'm wrong. He can also play guitar. So he's got the trifecta of fucking panty dropping, and it makes me sick. I mean,
and he has a great sounding voice even when he speaks. So
right.
You're already swooning. Let's be honest.
I mean, I don't have anything going for me. The looks, the charm, the voice, nothing. But man, people like Matthew, it's just
hey, Road Dogs.
Rhodey's in chat. What's up, Rhodey? Nice to have you in here. Gimmickless says he's learning guitar on Rocksmith. Right on, Gimmickless. That's good for you, man. I hope you learn all kinds of crazy good songs and start a band. That would be great. I was actually a loner. Matthew, look at this guy. This is what he does. Okay. He pretends like he's like, that guy that was so good looking, but he was a loner and all this shit. When in reality, this guy was like, I mean, the bee's knees back in school. I was in all the honors class. Look at this. And now he's got the intelligence along with the.
I know, wanting to play the modest role, but we know.
Right. We know, Matthew. Come on, man. You don't have to pull the wool over.
Let's see your yearbook with all the little hearts and everything, and the percentage of the females that are in there.
Right.
And the jocks might not have liked you because they were jealous, but I don't see anything saying that the chicks didn't like you.
Right. He's not going to say that because he knows better. And here's another thing. He's honest. What? And he said he didn't go to a single school dance. That's because there were too many women and you didn't want to offend any one of the women.
That's because he didn't get to the dance. He was too busy partying with the girls before.
That's right. Yeah, he was too busy at the house. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. We know.
You just skipped all of that, Matthew. See, everybody else had to work.
So see, both things can be true. He didn't go to the dance, but he said he was going.
Right.
He was just partying with his buddies and everything else. So both things can be true at the same time.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, Matthew. You had the privilege of just skipping all the formalities. You're just like, come to my house, you can drink or not, but you know what's going to happen at the end of the night. That's Matthew in a nutshell.
That Road Dogs, that was Matthew that was talking about old people. He was bragging how he was still in high school during 9/11.
Right. I know exactly where I was during 9/11.
I know where I was too.
Yeah, I was driving home, and there was an army base that was near my home, and it was supposedly a deactivated military base. And fuck if it was, because they were all out there putting barbed wire fencing and all kinds of shit, man. They were getting ready for something. Razor says, wait a minute, MLH can't get Bernie to drop hers. Shame on you, MLH. That's not true, Razor. I mean, I'm not good looking, but in Bernie's eyes, it's a whole, I'm Matthew King, and according to Bernie. So I'll just let her believe that. I know she's delusional, and maybe those glasses are causing her to see something different. But I'm very happy for that. All right. I think I'm going to wrap it up, Ellie. I think we've been going for a long time here. Unless there's anything else that you want.
Oh no.
Road Dog says, I was sleeping until my ex woke me up, wondering if it was a movie or really the news. Okay. I don't know what that's in reference to. Okay. All right. Ellie, anything you want to say or plug before we get off the air here?
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
Just love everybody. You know, it's just exhausting talking about the government. It brings up a lot of anger and
but if
the way things are, and I can't defend any of them.
Yeah.
At all.
It's like I always say, Ellie, I can't stand Democrats and I can't stand Republicans. Not the people, just the politicians. The politicians are the issue. And the fact that we have to pick either a Democrat or a Republican is asinine as well. I hate it. I don't think there should be a D or an R next to anybody's name, and we should go based on ideas and not parties. But whatever. Susie says, "Have fun, rather just smoke weed." I agree, Susie. I wish
that's what I said.
I only
so I'm no longer, just for the record, I'm no longer, if any of my local politicians are watching this, going to accept any pamphlets at my residence unless there is a joint attached to it.
A joint or an ounce. I say an ounce. More bounce to the ounce. Razor says, when are you and KDOT making a shark run together on live, looking to feed the shark again? I can't really answer that, Razor. I was going to go out today, but man, my back was kind of hurting, and I was like, I'll just go home and do a panel. I've been meaning to do a panel on, the topics that we were talking about. Gimmickless says, do more voting with your money. It's the only way, Gimmickless. It's the only way. Matthew is over 500. Right on, Matthew. Good job. Matthew needs to be over 1,000, 2,000, I say.
I was one of Matthew's first 20.
I think I was too, if I'm not mistaken, Ellie. I think we were.
Yeah, I was definitely within the first 20.
Ellie's just saying that so she could get special private privileges later, Matthew.
No, I'm not. Matthew knows that's true. But if I do get any special privacy, just let me know, Matthew. I can work that out with the hubby.
Right. Threesome special. Matthew says,
No. I'm not sharing them.
Oh, no sharing? Wow.
Okay. No.
Got to be a one-on-one. Okay. She's older, Matthew. She can teach you things, Mushroom Manny says that government ounce special. Eat edibles, Susie tried. Yeah, I agree with that. Eat edibles. It's great stuff. Let's see. What else do we got here? Manny, let's sing a loo. I don't know what that means, Jen. Glad you got my email and couldn't believe you did a YouTube today about it. Razor said, yeah. Razor, I knew about it, but I had to gather my thoughts. I don't like to just do panels based on feelings and fifis. I like to assess and think a little bit before I do panels. I very rarely do panels on my channel, but I do like to every once in a while because there's she wants eye candy. You all do, Susie. You love it.
Eye candy don't hurt nobody.
Right? Absolutely not. Look but don't touch. unless never mind. Okay, I think that's about it. Make sure you sub to Bernie's channel. Every Tuesday we have a lively. Last night was a riot. It was so fun. We made light of the song "Don't Stop Believing" by Journey.
Yeah, that was awesome last night.
It was great. I think everybody had a good time. Make sure you sub to Bernie's channel, and every Tuesday at 9 Eastern, we have a good time on there. Butcher up a song. That's basically what we do. And I was really hoping Matthew would get up there and sing, but at least we got to see Matthew last night, which was awesome. So if you want to see Matthew's pretty face and a bunch of horrible singers ruin a song, make sure you check that out. What else? I do another show about video games. If anybody's interested in video games, on Fridays, go to twitch.tv/rpgrinders, and a bunch of nerdy, dorky, video game stuff on there. Also politics and, other things of that nature. We talk the second half of the show. Just join the second half of the show. It's great. And then as far as my schedule goes on this channel, Mondays and Wednesdays, I usually reserve for cop watching or homeless outreach. The homeless outreach, I know I've been kind of lacking for a bit, but it's because my food resources have dried up. But I do have plans probably within the next week or two before I go to Las Vegas in order to raise some money for that. But I want to hold off on that just for now. AJOT. See, AJOT knows what's going on. Look, sexy Mexican candy. See, so there you go. Just
She's
accept
just blowing smoke up your ass. Come on.
probably, but I'll take it, Ellie. At this point in my life, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it is what it is. But let's see, Mondays and okay, so here's how it goes. Mondays and Wednesdays usually cop watching, or homeless outreach. Tuesdays is, of course, on Bernie B's channel with the Hot Tub Time Machine. Thursdays I take completely off, so tomorrow I don't want to do anything, although I have been doing a lot behind the scenes. But Fridays is RP Grinders, and the weekends are reserved for you guys. So if you want to email me, mexicanlonghair@gmail.com. If you guys have anything for me to do, like, I don't know, you want me to take a drive to Red Rocks, if you want me to do cop watching at a certain place, if you want me to, do a library or something of that nature, .com, I'm always open to do something. If not, I'll take the weekends off too as well. So, all right. Any final thoughts, Ellie, before we get out of here?
Yeah, leave the libraries alone. Those books didn't do nothing to you.
Sometimes, every once in a while, libraries are okay, I guess, but I don't do them very often. But
leave the DMVs alone. They didn't do nothing.
I don't go to
all
DMVs.
They're doing is they're only taking pictures that you requested they take by sending in your check. So, I mean, let's be honest. The DMVs are,
DMVs,
crap. And the post office, listen, I don't know of any post office that was caught or even, alleged to have committed any stamp fraud of selling any counterfeit stamps. So,
I don't do
if you're going to hold public officials accountable, somebody selling stamps or sending your package probably isn't the smart thing to do. Nothing's going to change there. Let's just stick to the cops and your government representatives, your senators, your congressmen. I'd like to see more of that shit personally.
Yeah, I don't do post offices either. But you know what? If
the shit show's in the house.
Oh, shit show decided to join at the end. What's up, shit show? Nice to have you here, AC. What about those people going postal? Now that's something different. I might cover that story, Gimmickless. I've done that before. If you want me to cover a story, if you've heard of something in the Denver metro area, I will do that as well. Just email me, mexicanlonghair@gmail.com, and I'll be more than happy to try to accommodate. I'm not going to do something stupid. You're not going to, I don't do things for sensationalism, clicks and views. I don't try to get arrested. Or any of that. So, I do things.
You mean you don't lurk in the bushes for hours, or
I do not.
edit your stuff from 4 hours down to 15 minutes?
Nope, don't do that. Matter of fact, very, very little editing goes on my channel at all. So if you want to know what a real audit is, then my channel is the one for you, because I don't I don't sugarcoat things. I don't make myself look better. I don't make the cops look worse. I don't edit, with impunity. I just don't do those type of things. So, if you want an honest audit of somewhere, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to do it, as long as it's not a post office.
And
Certain
somebody's cookie shop, private
yeah,
businesses,
private
leave them
businesses.
alone.
Yeah, for the most part, I won't. do that.
Nobody's selling any, laced cookies. And if that's the case, you might not want to put that shit on YouTube to begin with. If you're going to hold your government accountable, do exactly that. But, do it where things happen. I don't see anything illegal, to be honest, happening at the post office or the library or the DMV, except that I think their cameras purposely make you look like shit.
Yeah.
If you want to do that, that's fine. But listen, everybody's there because they choose to be there. They don't even take money there anymore. You sent it in the mail. So,
Yeah.
all that I just think is silliness. And
Yeah.
I'd like to see more, to me, community meetings.
Yeah.
What happens in the communities. I'd like to see congressmen, senators, district representatives, police chiefs, and their sergeants, not just the police officers. I want to see what their bosses do.
Yeah,
Because to be honest, shit rolls downhill. So that those cops are learning from what they see. Monkey
Hey,
see, monkey do.
Speaking of that, I have a very interesting conversation that KDOT and I had with the chief of police in Aurora, R.S. Avedo, that I may be releasing at some point. So be on the lookout for that. King Bluto, I really appreciate that. He says you're one of the few channels that keep it real and don't go after the clicks and views. You go out there more for education. Yes, I agree. Gimmickless says should wear a Halloween mask, speed around, come to a screeching halt to homeless, jump out and scream, "You want some water?" Yeah, I'm sure that would definitely give me some.
Yeah, nobody's going to run from that gimmickless.
Right. Need more edibles in our lives. I agree. Susie tried. Okay, so that's it. That's my schedule. You guys know all about it. Hope you guys enjoy the channel. The comment. Oh, that's another thing. On Saturdays, I do the comment show. I need more comments. So watch a random video and comment on it. I always like to engage with everybody that way as well. All right. Nothing else. I think that's it. You guys have a great week. I'll see you guys not tomorrow because tomorrow I'm off. Maybe later tonight. I don't know. We'll see. You never know. Sometimes I just catch a news story and I have to get out there and do it. But all right. Everybody take care, stay safe, and
All right, peace, everyone.
Peace. I'll see you guys on the next show.